Kevin with the New Warehouse podcast here, and we are on site at ProMat 2025. And right now I'm in the NOBLELIFT booth, and I'm going to be joined with my good friend Bill Pedriana, who is the president at NOBLELIFT now. So Bill, thanks for having me in. How's it going?
It's going great, Kevin. Good to see you again as usual. I'm going to start talking to you today about our new walkie reach truck.
All right,
so
let's see
it's in the middle of the booth for a reason, because this is kind of the first one. So this is our initial prototype. We're going to launch this later in July.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of folks in the industry are familiar already with this form factor, but for those that aren't, the advantage of a walkie reach truck is it's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of forklifts, okay?
All right,
and the reason for that is because it's like two trucks in one.
Okay.
Straddle stackers like the ones that we have over here on the right, they have some advantages. The main advantage is that they're lightweight and they can turn really tightly because they're not counterbalanced. Walkie reach truck has the advantages of a straddle truck, but then it has a pantograph. So a pantograph is a reach mechanism that pushes the carriage of the forks out past the straddle legs, so that now it acts as a counterbalance truck. So counterbalance truck, you can put anything you want on the forklift, how long loads or big loads or whatever, because when you set them on the ground, you don't have to worry about the straddles being in the way.
Right.
So that's the advantage of a counterbalance, is it can do just about anything, right? You handle just about anything.
Yeah.
So it's a 2-for-1. You get the tight turning radius of a straddle stacker when the pantograph is retracted. You get all the advantages of a counterbalance when it's extended. There's one fundamental benefit that we've driven into this new design that we're launching, which is really cool.
Let's hear it.
And it takes the one remaining downside of a walkie reach truck out of the mix. And that is when the pantograph is retracted and you're operating at low heights or even high heights, you can't really see very well because that mechanism is in the way of the field of view.
Okay.
Okay, so to defeat that now, our new NOBLELIFT walkie reach truck has this crab walk or moonwalk style feature, which I have activated here with this button. So now what that does is it locks out the steer motor so it drives just forward and aft.
Okay.
So now if I'm loading a machine center at low height in a manufacturing site, or if I'm like loading rack up at high, I can go stand to the side of the vehicle like this, and now when I hit the throttle, it's going to track just forward and aft just like this. It's not going to turn. Normally if I had this turned to the side like this, the truck would be rotating. The sight advantage is pretty cool. The other thing that's really cool about this is now that you're not standing over here, now in an aisleway, you can actually operate the truck in a much narrower, tighter aisle.
Right.
So instead of 10 and a half feet, now you can work this truck in about 9 feet. So very excited truck to launch in July. I think once we do, this is going to be the nicest walkie reach truck in the North American market.
Yeah, very interesting there, and very smart too to have that design to be able to do that, right? Because you increase that visibility, right, which makes it safer, right? And a little more comfortable, I think, too, for the operator.
Absolutely.
To feel comfort in placing that load. So now tell us, what kind of applications would you see this in?
So basically, the one I mentioned about like at low height, you're going to see this in manufacturing support applications. So it's not the big workflows, it's a lot of the in-between, the kind of spasmatic, I call it, workflows where it's unpredictable.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you don't know when you need to move things from one workstation to another workstation in manufacturing. This is a champ in manufacturing because you need tight turning, but you have a lot of machinery around, so that reach helps tremendously in manufacturing at low level. And then back of store. So for the put away, same attributes happen in things like grocery stores, right? You got things all over the place. You got a condensed area where you're trying to pack a lot of product. Reach truck works like a champ in those environments as well. So those would be probably the two key market needs for a walkie reach.
Nice. And how high does this go? So
this one is our triple. So this is going to go to 189. That's kind of the classic kind of height for most applications in the US, because you've got 60-inch beam elevation. So 60, 120, 180, 180 inches, and then you need a couple more inches to lift the pallet off the top rack. So that can serve like a 3-level application.
Very interesting, and I think it's great design, right? Great to be able to leverage that kind of crab walk, as you called it there, which is very nice, and have that flexibility to do that as well, and work in a more tighter, more narrow space, or be able to utilize your space a little better and get more out of it, right?
Yeah. No, it's a great truck. Very excited about it, and there's more coming.
All right. All right, so now we've moved over to the pallet jack section of the NOBLELIFT booth. So, Bill, tell us a little bit about what we're seeing here.
All right, so this is our range of a class of pallet trucks called Class 3.1. So this is a 3.1. So Class 3 is walk-behind trucks, the straddle trucks, the walkie reach we just talked about. Anything with kind of a tiller handle like this, that's going to be a Class 3 forklift. Class 3.1 just kind of came about over the past 10 years because people are moving from manual pallet trucks to electric. It's just the safety, fatigue on operators, moving heavy loads. In some applications, just in this day and age, people didn't want to do that work anymore.
Right.
And the price of these machines made it easy for people to convert from manual equipment to electric. So Class 3.1 is kind of a category for all these type of trucks. And this is our portfolio of those lines. 2 of these models are new this year, which is starting with this Avant unit.
Avant.
The Avant.
I like the name.
Yeah. We have lots of cool names. So what's special about the Avant? Well, the secret of trying to get more and more companies to kind of get away from the manual and go to electric is obviously getting that kind of form factor right, so it's familiar to them, so it acts like a hand truck. So you see the handle shape and everything is very much like a manual product.
Yes.
And just like a manual truck, it's not really designed to do super heavy loads. Like a manual pallet truck, they might be rated for 5,500 pounds, but no one in their right mind is going to move around 5,500 pounds with a manual jack. I mean, it's like you would need like 4 people to do it.
I've tried it myself, and I can't do it. I know I'm looking pretty big here.
Right, exactly, right. So I mean, and that's not the point. The point is that, the point of the manual pallet truck is the moves that are kind of short runs, lighter weights. Otherwise, you need a bigger product to do it, right? So in a 3.1 product like this, like the Avant, we're kind of driving down that form factor to be like a pallet truck, bringing that cost down so it's easy to convert, but still like bringing in things like lithium technology and a good amount of robustness so the thing holds up over time and it's not a throwaway, okay? This has an onboard battery here, so this is, you have to unplug the connection here, and you can see right here, green light, this is a lithium battery. You can swap that in and out. You can either charge it on the truck or as an external charger. That's very common across all 3.1 trucks, not just by us, but across the market.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things maybe for your viewers right now here in North America is that people are familiar that there's some trade tariffs and things like that going on in our society right now.
Heard a little bit about those.
Right, heard a little bit about that. So this product starting in April will be actually produced in Vietnam.
Okay.
So that is currently, we'll see what happens in April, but there's some advantages cost-wise. And once again, this is a very cost-sensitive market because people are looking at an alternative that might be $400, like a manual jack, right? So I think the Avant is very well timed to the market. It has really good features. Build quality is very high, and it also has that swappable lithium battery, which customers really love.
Yeah, definitely. I think that swappable battery is so smart to do that, right? And I love that it is like very reminiscent of a manual jack in that sense. So it's an easy transition, right? Very slim too, right? So still that same maneuverability, I imagine. Yeah. Very nice product, definitely.
Yeah. So we're really excited to see what people are going to do about the Avant. And then the other product I'd like to talk to you about in this category is our new Edge Elite.
All right, let's see it.
Okay.
The Elites. Okay.
The Elites, right. So for years we had the Edge. We launched the Edge, and it was very, very popular. We learned a lot. That was kind of our first 3.1 truck that we launched in North America. And now the Edge Elite, we have bigger battery, higher voltage, even better, more robust build quality. So it's not just about the guys that are the pallet truck people going up to electric from a manual jack. Now it's actually guys going from bigger, heavier equipment for more intense use cases that really want to take advantage of this form factor. Because with this really small little truck, I mean, the thing is that back of a trailer applications, delivery routes, all sorts of stuff that are really pretty abusive applications. You need a better build quality machine in 3.1 to hold up to that. But this is just a killer application to make that so small and then have that swappable battery. You can imagine you're out on a route, right? Like 200 miles away from a DC, you don't want to run out of power. So talk about range anxiety. If you can't make your drop, that's a problem, right? So having a swappable battery, maybe even charging it in the cab is like is kind of a game changer. So that's what the Edge Elite's all about. It's kind of going after those more kind of high cycle, kind of high throughput use cases.
Nice, yeah, and I think that's such a great point, right? To be out there in the field, right, having to make those deliveries, and now all of a sudden you can't make a delivery just because you don't have the power to do it. Right, you're stuck. What are you going to do? You're already like close to the customer, and now you got to go all the way back. Or
are you going to down stack it on a 2-wheel handcart and put it in the store? I mean,
break your
back. Be there all
afternoon,
right?
Definitely, yeah. So very nice here, seeing these smaller pallet jack options here, and that flexibility and the different applications here as well. And I think we're going to look at one in the back here.
Yeah, we have one more in the back that I'd like to kind of bring to show you today. Okay, so on the Edge Pro, maybe we have some good features like I was talking about for those robust applications.
Sure.
Things like keypads for access control and that kind of stuff. You can imagine it's good on delivery.
Yeah.
Like if you're at a store, you don't want some kids, like some 9-year-old coming around driving your pallet truck while you're not
Jump
looking.
on the pallet jack,
right?
yeah.
So there's codes. We also have this in our new unit. So this is the PT45 LLI.
Okay.
The PT is pallet truck, 4,500 pounds. 45 is 4,500 pound capacity. The LLI is for a long tiller is the first L instead of a short tiller. That makes it so the operator has easier turning characteristics because you have that leverage of that long tiller, right? So it's easy to steer with little effort. And then the other LI is lithium. So those other trucks I just showed you are also lithium with the swappable.
Right.
This is a fixed battery this doesn't swap, it's a fixed bigger battery for heavier applications.
Yeah.
This is what you would use at like the back of a grocery store, just like pounding into like pallets of flour and beverage all day long at a dock. Traditionally, it's the most popular lift truck as far as unit volume in North America is the 4,500 pound pallet truck.
Right.
So it's used in a lot of different applications, but when you add lithium to it and you design it as a purpose-built lithium truck from scratch, you can do some things like shrink the power head.
Yeah, I see it's very slim here.
So it's super duper tight this way.
Yeah.
So remember I was just mentioning to you on the Edge Elite, we're starting to see users that really want that tight little form factor. Well, this gives you lots of the advantages of lithium, still a super tight, power head. So you have tight turning radius and so forth, but then the robustness of the steel frame to take abuse.
Yeah.
Right, just like I was mentioning, like hitting like big, heavy 3,800 pound, pallets in like the grocery segment, for instance, is a good application for this.
Right.
Edge Elite's a nice product, but it's not really designed for that kind of intense shock. So you really need a more rugged truck. You'll see the steel framing of this. Like if you look at the fork sections and how much steel there is, this thing's built like a tank.
Yeah, it's very protected,
Right, so even though it's small, built very, very durable. This is a brand new truck, also launching in July, just like the Walkie Reach. I think at the time we'll probably switch over to the Sunrise Orange by then too.
Okay.
Move away from the green. So when people see the orange truck, they know it's a NOBLELIFT.
They know NOBLELIFT.
That's right.
Definitely. All right. Well, thanks for showing us these pallet jacks here. Definitely great designs, and I love the slim form factor here, and also that heavy duty protection that you mentioned here with all the steel. Really, really smart. So what are we going to see next?
I think we're going to move over and take a look at the Alpha project and our good, better, best strategy on the sit-down lithium counterbalance trucks.
All right, so let's go check out the Alpha project on the other side of the booth. All right, so now we're on the other side of the booth here, and we're going to first check out this Project Alpha, which just got announced this week, right?
On your podcast,
show, right?
Yep.
On our live stream, so make sure you check that out. But we're going to hear a little bit more about it, and this is the 1.0, right?
This is the 1.0 version of for our Alpha project. It's a global sustainability project.
Okay.
Trying to get the cost of operating a forklift with electric power low, so people convert from IC to electric.
Yeah.
The 5,000 pound pneumatic forklift, Kevin, is the most popular form factor of counterbalance forklift in the world.
Okay.
There's about somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 million of them in operation globally. 10 million. That's a lot of forklifts, right?
Yeah.
And those are the fuel burning forklifts. When I say IC, that's internal combustion, right? So typically it's going to be diesel, gas, or LP. So 10 million in operation, about 1 million sold every year.
Wow.
And the reality is not all of them are going to go away. I know there's some people, at the show that are talking about this huge transition where LP and gas trucks are going to go away.
Right.
Really, and we have LP trucks here at NOBLELIFT too. So people are understanding there's a supply chain resilience issue.
Okay.
If a power grid goes down and like a hurricane hits, you'd still need to get like supplies to like serve people's needs that are in need, right? So you're still going to need to have fuel-based product in some applications. So the goal is not eliminating LP and gas. The goal is to try to reduce as much as possible, right? And so the Alpha project, it's our initiative. It's something we're doing to try to benefit our customers, the planet, something we feel like we're in a good position to do to help as much as possible move people from internal combustion to lithium with the world's first open source forklift. And that's what is special about this Project Alpha. That's why we're talking about a project, not necessarily a model number and features and benefits and things like that.
Yeah.
It's really more about creating an open source community, exposing all the design and technology that we've put together so that we can use research programs, engineering programs, universities, all different forms of academia, private sector to contribute to this project and drive down that operating cost and make it easier for companies to do that transition.
Got it. Very interesting, and I think very ambitious project too.
Absolutely.
As well, right?
Absolutely.
I think very different for forklift industry.
It is. It's actually almost antithetical to the industry,
Yeah.
and we talked about this a little bit on the podcast.
Yeah.
Is that typically the idea is you want to have a captive, situation. Open source, is kind of the opposite of what the industry typically operates. It's usually closed source. That's the business model. So, but like we talked also the other day, I mean, this is part of us doing, kind of walking the walk. I talked a lot about, kind of what collaboration looks like and putting partners and your collaborators' needs ahead of your own, and just trusting the fact that if you want to embrace change and be part of the future, that this is a good strategy. This is kind of a testament to us doing that with Project Alpha. And there's one more item I'd like to kind of mention for your viewers, which is kind of cool about this, is that this actually has another version of this, which is the Alpha version 1.0.
Right.
This is the lithium version. There's also a version of it that's IC, same exact truck, same exact supply base.
Okay.
All the parts are sourced from basically a common supplier or common suppliers that serve multiple different brands across the world.
Wow.
So it's kind of designed by nature to almost be open source and non-proprietary parts, right? But the version of this that's LP, that has a typical internal combustion driveline, you can actually retrofit that 5 years, 7 years later and drop the lithium system into it. So if you're not ready to convert now, you still want to use LP, you could have a second life for a very low, probably 20% of the value of a new forklift. You can convert it then to lithium 5, 7 years now, and that's a really good sustainability aspect of this Alpha initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a great project, definitely, and really smart, really innovative to be thinking about this, and I'm really interested to see how this continues to evolve and how it not only pushes NOBLELIFT forward, but I think the industry as a whole.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I'm interested too, because no one's ever really tried this.
Yeah.
But I think we're onto something that's pretty special, or could be pretty special, and we'll have to see how that evolves. Later this year in January, we're also going to be launching another 5,000-pound lithium truck, because not everybody can be serviced by the Alpha model. There's some attributes like for a big scrap yard or something like that. We were talking about the pallet trucks, about that intense application. Right? Those kind of people we also have a solution for that's a lithium product.
Okay.
This is also based kind of on some of the things we learned about IC trucks and IC users. So if they're an IC user that wants to convert to lithium, this truck, the G series now, has a lot of the same attributes. So if you look at the hood of this vehicle, it's going to look identical to an IC hood, which is protected from the weather and those types of things. Not typically like a class 1, which is an indoor electric forklift would be designed. This is really designed from scratch to be a lithium truck, purpose built, with the things that are necessary for intensive outdoor use and those hard applications.
Got it.
Right, so this will come out in January. G series, I don't know yet. Once again, we were talking about names. Maybe G will be Gamma. Right, and once again, it'll be orange, gamma, but everybody knows what happens when you get too many gamma rays. You turn into you get strong and so forth. So this is our high performance 5,000-pound lithium truck. Excited about this one too. But once again, kind of a different use case, just like we saw in the pallet trucks, where you've got that one guy that wants to convert, and then you got that power user. We're going to serve both of those needs. Yeah,
very interesting, and I love too that you're taking that fact and thinking about the feel of the IC truck, maybe even design, and how does that make it easier for the transition, right? Because it's not just about transitioning to the way the energy feels, right? It's about just the truck itself.
Right. People get to be when they sit on a piece of equipment for 4, 5, 6 hours or longer in a day. They become extremely productive and extremely proficient on it, but also they have that feeling of they feel powerful because they're a master of the machine they operate, right? So keeping the form factor consistent is not just good for productivity in the operator, it's also good for safety. and it's a important thing we think about when we design new products.
Interesting, definitely. Yeah, and I think that's a great point there. This is like the office for some people, right?
That is, that's right. And we're going to continue to try to make that experience. We'll talk about some things at Modex related to that are going to be pretty darn cool. About enhancing that experience. A whole nother year. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right,
yep.
all right.
So, and then finally we have
here.
just kind of to fill out the portfolio on this style of truck. This is our Q series. So the Q series here is available currently. We've had it actually in the US market now for a few years. It's very well established.
Okay.
So between the Alpha, the Gamma, and our Q series here, we have kind of like a, a different tiered kind of strategy, so we can service the needs of like multiple people. And so, kind of almost not giving them an excuse to keep using an internal combustion a truck, whether you need a mid-range, kind of more of a light-duty truck, or more of a power, kind of a powerful truck for a heavy-duty use case. We have one for each tier of customer.
Interesting, yeah, and I think it's great to see kind of the different levels here, the different applications, the way you've thought about the user, the operators, and how they're going to use them from a functional purpose, right? And also how are you going to push the industry forward, right?
That's
Which
right.
I think, that's a very, very noble thing.
Yeah,
NOBLELIFT.
We're trying. Yeah,
definitely.
between Project Alpha and some of the ways we think about collaboration in providing trucks not just for the Noble brand, but for other global OEMs. The name kind of fits.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So thanks for showing us around the booth here and showing us some of the solutions you guys have currently and a lot of what's coming ahead in the market here. We got some teases, definitely.
Yeah, some teases.
Absolutely. So if people want to learn more about NOBLELIFT, get some of these in their operation, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, they can probably just go onto our website. It's NOBLELIFT NA for North America, NOBLELIFTNA.com.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thanks again, Kevin. Good seeing you.
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's video here on our YouTube channel, the New Warehouse Podcast, and I appreciate you tuning in. If you liked what you saw, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and if you like this video in particular, make sure you like it as well. And if you want to get this great t-shirt that you see in the video behind me, Warehouses Are Sexy, head to warehousesaresexy.com and get your own.